Hello and welcome to SPINcast, the esports industry's #1 podcast. My name is Sheridan, and today I'm joined by Coach Chris from Michigan Tech. So, tell us about your program.
Right, so Michigan Tech, we are the first varsity program in Michigan. So what that means is we are part of athletics. We have a D1 hockey team, we have D2 basketball and football, and we have esports. I answer to the athletic director, and that means that we have workouts, we get excused absences just like any other athlete. You get preferential course selection, as well as access to athletic scholarship. And if you talk to me about admissions, you get access to the advanced admission process like you would being a star hockey player, right? We offer CSGO, Overwatch 2, Rocket League, Smash, League of Legends, Valorant, and Apex Legends as our current varsity teams. We are looking at getting Call of Duty, so if you are interested in that, please talk to me. And we are open to stuff like Hearthstone. We even started supporting our club's chess team. So if you got a game you're really passionate about, I know there's a lot of Fortnite players out there that you can definitely talk to me, and we'll be able to have a conversation about that. About our program, we have 4 pillars in a code of conduct. It's also plastered on the inside of our facility if you ever see it. They are drive, responsibility, camaraderie, and adaptability. And what that means is that we want everybody to be a competitor, to have drive. We want you all to be showing up every day to win, showing up to work as 100%, trying to improve yourself, to drive yourself to be the best athlete you can be. Responsibility, show up on time, own your mistakes, and work together with your team, which goes into camaraderie. Well, we have a lot of fun. I know that's kind of a red flag, but it's like, we're a family. We have fun here. If you ever tune into our streams, we have a lot of people just goofing around. If you ever listen to our comms on our recordings, everybody's having fun. Like, everybody likes each other. We really value that. Yes, we want to be the best we want to be, but that doesn't mean everyone's a jerk, and we don't really tolerate bad vibes. We're all friends here. And the fourth, I think most important, is adaptable. I think because we started before COVID, we've had to do a lot of things differently very quickly. And that's something that we just kind of expect, as well as value in anybody that we're trying to bring in, is that stuff's going to change. We're going to have to roll with the punches, and we need people who are adaptable. And so if that sounds something good to you, I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, and tell us about the Michigan Tech esports facility.
So Michigan Tech has a dedicated practice facility. It's 2 transformed racquetball courts, which means they're these large open rooms, of which the ground floor has, I believe, 12 dedicated computer workstations, as well as we have 2 switch stations set up for Smash. All of it is integrated up into our upstairs coach's office, as well as VOD review studio, and it lets you have meetings as well as our dedicated broadcast studio. And all of that stuff is purpose built by the university, so that, for example, we have NDI feeds that are networked from the facility up to the mixing studio, as well as cameras that are set up within the studio, and we're talking where they're set up in the facility so that we can pull the feeds in the studio, as well as bring all those feeds onto the TVs that are on the walls of the studio. Lets us do a lot of effective things in terms of VOD review, as well as just having a good time in there. Allows for a lot of flexibility, as well as good production quality for when we run our streams. Something that is very important to us and that we are looking to expand as well. So if you are, say, looking at 2024, 25, we might have a lot more computers in there. We're going to have newer computers in there. We're continually, year over year, upgrading things. Like, for example, we're trying to add this summer having audio miking, more or less, so that we have several microphone options. And so it's very easily toggleable from the desk upstairs, so that we can hear all the excitement from when we hit those crazy shots as well, and all the cheering and heartbreak when maybe things don't go our way. So we have a dedicated facility, and we're quite proud of it.
And can you tell us why Michigan Tech is attending the Gelety College event?
We're attending Gelety College because the Spin Showcase is a great place to find great recruits. I attended, and I had the pleasure of attending, I think the first recruitment combine that was held in Massachusetts, not last summer, but the following or previous summer, at the Patriots Plaza, at the multiplex, if you will. And I had a fantastic time. I met some very cool people. I was working at Davenport at the time, and we were able to bring in some pretty high caliber talent. And so I would like to continue those relationships and find the best players we can to bring them over to Michigan Tech.
What are the important items a student should consider when looking for these collegiate esports opportunities?
So I tell this to everybody that I have a recruiting conversation with. Number one is, where do you want to go? So college is a fantastic opportunity for anybody to move. And when you move there, it's also a great way to find contacts for you to get a job in that geographic region. So it's start with, where do you want to go? Especially if you are a top recruit. Everybody like me is going to be trying to give you their best offer. So start with location. So if you want to move to the sun, like look at Hawaii, look at Florida, look at San Diego. If you really like snow sports, Michigan Tech is a great option for that. Maybe look at Colorado, look at Vermont. If you want to say be a downhill skier, or like maybe you're into dog sled racing, that's something to consider, where that's going to really limit where you want to go, right? Also thinking about, what is the city environment like? So Houghton in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is kind of the middle of nowhere, which means that it's amazing for some things and terrible for others. So it's not going to be for everybody. And it's, if you're thinking about where you're going to end up, if you want to be big city, you want to be suburbs, you want to be kind of in the wilderness, you want to have, like, what do you want to have access to? That can really help narrow down a list of schools that are even on your radar where you think you're going to be happy at. Then start with academics. So you've gotten your short list of, this is where I want to go. Then you want to search, okay, what are the best programs for the things that I want to study? And you don't want to just focus on degree programming. You want to really think about, okay, like, what do I want to learn about? And then start looking at not only the degree program, but the faculty that are available, as well as the research that's being held there. Because one of the things that you pay for when you go to college is access to faculty, because the university brings some of the brightest minds in the world together to go study stuff and research stuff. And part of what you're doing is having access to those professors. So you really want to look into, like, who do I want to learn from? What do you want to learn about? And that's a great way of looking at Michigan Tech. We have one of the best STEM schools broadly in the country, which means we're one of the best STEM schools in the world. So if you're looking at electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, general engineering, as well as even like civil and environmental engineering, Michigan Tech's a great place to go. As well as stuff expanded of just broad mathematics, information systems, as well as things like cybersecurity and computer science. Those are all fantastic degree programs here, and you're going to have access to not only really top caliber faculty, access to participate in research and learn from the people learning the new things that are being done, but you have really good access to companies that recruit out of here looking for and expecting that top tier talent. But if, on the flip side, if you want to say be a graphic designer or a fine artist, or you want to learn media information communications, we really don't have the depth of coverage there, where, for example, another school is going to have a lot more. So that's another way that you can really help narrow down. So you start with region, you start with what kind of city you want to live in, and then you really narrow it down with what kind of stuff you want to learn about. And by then, you've eliminated most schools, and you're only going to have a handful of things that you're really looking at. Then you want to look at, is the program right for you? Because we have like a very high caliber scholastic or scholarship varsity program. We are trying to bring the best talent that we possibly can. And that's something that's appealing to some people, and that's something that's not particularly appealing to others. And that's, again, like the third thing on the list, right? Of getting a sense of, is the program up to your expectations? Do they offer the things that you want? As well as, do you mesh well with the staff? Like, when you have a conversation with me, do we kind of get along? When you have a conversation with the coach, have you been introduced to the coach? Have you been introduced to the team? Is the vibe good? Are these people that you can expect to spend a considerable amount of your time under a lot of time, stress and pressure? If you're miserable and you don't like them, you're gonna have a bad time. So really think about, is the program a good fit for you, as in terms of competitive goals, competitive opportunities, as well as, are the people there the type of people you enjoy being around, and that you think they're going to elevate you to be a better person? And then the fourth one really is just like, do you like it? So I highly, highly encourage everybody, if you're serious about going to any school, visit. Something that I offer is I give, especially top recruits, hotel trade, meaning that I'll put you up in a hotel locally. I can't fly you out most of the time. I mean, I'm still trying to do it, but I can at least put you up at a hotel, because I want you to see the campus. I want you to see the facility. I want you to really feel being there. And because you'll really kind of have a sense of, oh, I like it here. I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to enroll. I can't wait to move in, versus being like, I don't know if this, like, that hesitation, that anxiety, listen to it. You probably are making the right choice by not going. But you can only really know if you visit. So, like, by that process, you can narrow down a lot of schools. You can get have essentially people like me give you their best offer, and then visit the one or two that you're super committed to, and you should have an obvious decision that you can trust.
What advice do you have for students who are looking to put their best foot forward in approaching coaches like you, or even just looking for these collegiate opportunities in general?
For first impressions are very, very important. So I want to see that you have done your research and you're taking this seriously. I talk to a lot of students and I get a lot of different introductions. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't overthink it. But like look up the school, figure out like why you're interested. Put some sort of effort into figuring out like what does my school offer, what teams do we have, what can you bring to my program, because I get so many emails that are just like, yeah, well, I mean, I'm thinking about it, what can you do for me? And I'm like, well, do you want to go to college? And start there. And like, what do you want to study? And they're like, I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, you're probably gonna flunk out in a year, dude. Like I'm not sure if I'm gonna take a gamble on you. And if that's your first impression, then you're gonna have to do a lot of legwork to convince me that you're reliable, you're focused, you're dedicated, you really are serious about this, because it's a 4-year commitment. Anybody that I give an offer, I want to graduate. I'm thinking, okay, how is this going to work for this semester? How is it going to work for the next year? And most importantly, how is this going to work for the duration of the student's career? Because I want you to graduate. I'm recruiting you. I want you to graduate. Meaning that if your first impression is like, you give me a short text and there's vague detail and then you don't respond for a couple weeks, I'm going to move on, right? So show an interest, do your research, come prepared. Have like, you don't have to have all the answers. I understand that like I was going to college once before and I've changed my career 3 or 4 times. So I totally understand if you're like, I'm not really sure what I want to do, but I know for sure I want to go to school. Here's some general interest of like the student I just talked to last was like, yeah, I mean, I like coding for video games to make my friends. So computer science makes a lot of sense for me. And I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. That's a good place to start. Like you have an interest, you have a passion, you have a reason that you want to go learn about this. And it's something that I know that is very good at my school. I think you're going to at least minimum get a good education and something that you're interested in, right? So that kind of thinking of plan ahead, come prepared, be focused, be responsive, and you'll do just fine.
What are some of the important qualities outside of the game that you look for in a recruit?
The recruits that stand out to me are the ones that care, and it seems like a really simple or kind of obvious thing, but it's very apparent to me that when someone wants to be here and they want to get better and they listen and they're eager and they accept information that's given to them, it's because they care. They want to get better. This is important to them. This isn't something they view as an opportunity and not an obligation. It really shines through. And if you're kind of like on the fence of being like, well, I guess I could do this, and my parents are kind of on my case, and I mean, I didn't. My T2 offers didn't really work out, so I guess I'll do this for 6 months and see what. Try again. Like that's gonna bleed through. I'm gonna know. Like commit to what you're doing and commit to what you're trying to do for 4 years. And but I mean, I want people to be honest with me too. Like it's something where if you try and present something you're not, or you're trying to do something that's an expectation that's being put upon you, it's gonna bleed through when you're here and you have to go do classes, and then you realize you don't like them, and then you're looking at it and you're like, oh, it's gonna take 3 more years for me to get out of here. Like, don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to me. Really, just be honest about it. If you're like, I don't really know what I want to do, that's totally fine. But make sure that like if you want to do this, that you're going to show up, that you care, and that you're honest with me and yourself.
How has your program helped new recruits adjust to maybe going to college for the first time, or playing as part of the team for the first time?
That's something that's really important to me as a coach, as well as what we're doing in college athletics for esports generally, is bridging that gap between playing solo queue and on random teams with your buddies, and getting you into a structured team environment for which you can improve and mature and really develop as a player in a way that without those opportunities and resources, you just can't. It's a night and day difference. Fortunately, at Michigan Tech, and a reason why I ended up here is that we have formal structural support through the department to help you with all those things. We have mandatory half semester classes of adjusting to college. We require all freshmen to attend study tables. Even as things as simple as we have a Discord for question and answers and homework, so that when our upperclassmen are talking about certain things, or our underclassmen can be like, hey, I'm looking at these classes, who's a good professor, who isn't, or in the question and answer being like, hey, I'm looking at housing, how does this work? Then we have RAs that are in the program, and they can give you all the information you ever want about how the housing process works. And just because we have that resource and that community of players, and we're able to connect them. It's something that, as my recruiting job, I'm keenly aware of these are your deadlines. This is the people that you need to email, giving you the habit of just ask the question. I know calling someone on the phone or sending an email to a professional you don't know is terrifying, but once you get used to it, it's really effective that you can just CC me on an email asking the head of such a department, being like, hey, I have these financial aid questions, and it's their job to know that. They'll just tell you the answer, even if it's copy pasting a frequently asked question sheet, right? Like, you can get those answers. So that's kind of a circuitous way of, we have a lot of formal programs, we have a lot of informal programs, and it's something that is a very high priority that you succeed and that you transition into being not only a college student, but a student athlete as well.
Thank you so much for joining us to talk about Michigan Tech.
You're welcome. And thanks for putting this together and putting in the work. Appreciate it.